Good evening, everyone. This is Andre from Chatterbox, and we're here today with our bestie Batul
Hi guys.
and my husband Charlie.
Hey everyone.
Well, as promised, today we were going to have a really kind of quick conversation. Well, not so quick, but a conversation about the elephant in the room, voting and elections for 2024. The whole purpose of this is to show that we can have these conversations and have different opinions, because we know that a lot of people are having these conversations around their kitchen table, and we actually want to encourage them. We don't want people to stay away from them because they're uncomfortable. And as a matter of fact, the motto of this channel is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So, with less ado, let's get started with Betul. She had some very interesting points that she wanted to share about what is driving you or what drove you to the polls and what were some of your concerns.
Hi everyone. So one of the reasons that drove me to the polls was, of course, being a female, a minority, an immigrant, because I feel like our democracy, empathy, and compassion are at stake. And I know those are feelings, and I know a lot of you don't like that, but those are going to coexist with the facts that are at stake. So that's what drove me. There's multiple reasons that did, but in the long run, our democracy, empathy, and sympathy are at stake. So that's why. Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I know everybody has a long list of hot topics, and I have my own hot topics. And a lot has been you've heard it over and over and over again in the news. Whether it's immigration, economy, reproductive rights, healthcare, affordable healthcare, LGBTQ rights. The list goes on and on and on and on. Okay, but in my mind, I conglomerate them all into something I classify as human rights because we're all human, and without those rights, we have nothing. But in order to get that, the most important thing for me is our democracy. Without a democracy, we get nothing. So forget the economy, forget your voting rights, forget everything else, because that's not going to exist if we don't have a democracy.
Yeah.
So that's the purpose behind me going, and I did go early voting, and I've already cast my vote.
All right. Awesome. So, one of the things that I wanted to kind of bring to the table was the fact that everybody comes to the election booth for their own purposes and with their own perspectives, and sometimes with their own insecurities about the future or what current and future administrations will mean to them. For instance, Batul, while we were driving over here, you were expressing to me how you felt about the current options that you had before you. Would you mind sharing?
Yeah, and I think we've spoken, how we're very honest with each other as friends. I mean, we have a common core where we agree on everything, but when it came to the election, this was the first time that ever since I could vote, I did not want to vote because of everything that is going on for my people. When I say that, I mean, the Muslim community, the Arab community, the Middle Eastern community, because oftentimes we feel like we are overlooked about everything else in society that is and is pushed aside. We'll address the other elephant in the room, which people probably don't like talking about, and a lot of people don't know how to talk about it, is the Israel-Palestine issue, where I did not, because I didn't think both candidates or not. But I had to step back, and that's why I said empathy and sympathy are at stake with this democracy. And I had to step back, and I had to be like, well, I cannot go complain if the other person wins and complain about my own rights and the people that I love in my community, their rights being taken away. Because I always say, if we can't take care of things here, there's no way that I can go on the street and protest for what's happening abroad or globally or anything. So that's why I was like, yes, let me get someone that, if I can, like I always say, we have to hold our politicians accountable. So if we don't hold them accountable, then there's no way that I can go and be like, all right, this is something that needs to happen. Like, then I do have that right. Versus if it goes the other way, I won't be able to even go on the streets and protest and say that I'm against this, regardless if that is a candidate that I put in office. I could still disagree on policies and procedures, as long as morals, ethics, and our democracy is not at stake. Yeah.
I think the biggest point, to what you're saying is, this election, we think that we live in a bubble and we don't. Yes, this is the United States. We're a leader in the world. We're the largest, strongest, this, that, and the other thing. But everything that affects one of us affects all of us. It affects us globally. It affects all our families. It goes beyond, I don't care what race you are, where you came from, color of your skin, education level, socioeconomic status, gender identification, gender. It affects all of us. And I think if people take it from that perspective and they really understand that everything that we are voting and what we are electing officials to put in, because remember one thing, it's not just the president. Okay, it's the Congress. You have House and Senate, and then your local legislatures, because each state has their own House and Senate. So bottom line is you have legislators, you have your down to your governor, to your school board, everything local. Everything matters all the way down that ticket. So keep that in mind, because we don't live in a bubble, and it affects everyone. And if you think it's not in your backyard, I guarantee you that it is, because number one, do you have a woman in your life? Because you came from your mom. Okay, some of us have sisters, nieces, daughters, friends. Whether we want to admit it or not, I guarantee you, we all know an LGBTQ plus person. And if you can say that you love them, but yet you elect individuals or you opine something that goes against their existence, their right to live, their safety, their dignity, then you don't really care about them. And you should take a good look in the mirror, because honestly, if you're going to say that you do, and you're voting against things that benefit them or protect them or, give them the right to exist and live peacefully, then you're a hypocrite.
I mean, for multiple reasons. Some people were brought up like in hyper-religious families, like I was, and people have their strongly held beliefs and this and that and whatnot. One of the things that I feel that has really gone downhill with our political environment is that we have perniciously allowed the marrying of religion to politics. And we have taken our eyes off of it for so long that now it is becoming ingrained into our politics to third world levels. And the reason why I say that is because I'm an immigrant. I'm not a citizen, so I can't vote. But I come from Panama. And if anyone has ever heard any jokes about telenovelas and the Latin culture, religion is very central to Hispanic culture. Most people in Latin America are Catholics, and there's now a growing number of people that are evangelicals. So, but in our countries, religion and politics are very much intertwined to the peril of people, because they weaponize it against a group of choice, and they use it to the word I'm looking for is to guilt trip people.
They use it as pillars.
Right.
Yeah.
Into manipulating people into accepting things that aren't ultimately good for them. Right. So that's one of the reasons why I feel that it's important for people to have these conversations, to understand that this isn't normal. This commingling of religion and politics isn't normal, and it isn't beneficial for anyone. Because while right now you're probably part of that group that is seeking power and using the influence of your religion to seek said power, it may not always be the case. And I'm sure that you wouldn't like to be on the receiving end of someone using their religion to impose a way of life that you don't agree with. Civil and human rights that apply to everyone. And that's why the whole Roe versus Wade thing was so impactful, because it's not only about reproductive rights and abortion, the right to abortion, but one of the central arguments behind Roe versus Wade was the right to bodily autonomy and privacy, right? And from there we can stem off into several different conversations of what that means. They're now revisiting other rulings that were based on Roe versus Wade about what you can literally do, sexual practices within your own home, and all kinds of stuff. So gay people are not so much afraid of that. Straight people need to be afraid of that too. It's like your right to privacy, of the sanctity of your home, that is also being challenged. But if they make you think that, oh, this is going to affect only women who are carelessly aborting, because that is the language that they used. Literally, a candidate that we have here for governor, he was caught. No, he wasn't caught. He said this on video, knowing that he was being recorded, that women aren't responsible enough to keep their skirts down, and that they just want to have an abortion so that they can go out and kiki on Friday night. Literally, these were the words coming out of his mouth. So they view these matters as a morality matter instead of a reproductive health, scientifically based matter, the way that it should be. So just religion and politics should not marry, because it completely disregards the objective nature of these laws and why they're put into place.
Well, go back to foundational. There was supposed to be separation of church and state. That was the whole purpose of establishing the colonies in this country. That was the whole separation of leaving England, was to be free and have liberty in the pursuit of happiness. Mm-hmm. And while they they instituted basic doctrines, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and all of that. Those documents were living documents. They were supposed to be living documents. And again, for those of you who spent all this money to see Hamilton, go back and see it again, because you missed something. Because the times are different. Okay, now taking it forward to the issues of today, yeah, reproductive rights. There's a lot more tentacles to that. You've got overall women's health care. Okay, so if you take away all of these things, you're talking about cervical cancer, ovarian cancers. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going. So if you think that it's just a simple topic, it is not. Okay, my position for all of this is just the fact that I can't pick one hot topic. I just can't. Because again, when things affect me, they affect my loved ones, my friends, the people that I say that matter to me. I should give a damn about them, and I do.
Yeah.
So I would be the biggest hypocrite if I voted against that. So the bottom line is, if you think it doesn't affect you, it does. Again,
Empathy.
you have to be empathetic to whatever, because if you're not, and you don't care about their right to exist, their right to live peacefully, their just to be, then you don't really care about those people. But for me, all of these issues, elder care, child care, affordable housing, food insecurities, affordable health care, education, because that's on the bill.
Yeah.
That's on the line right there. We've already dumbed down our education enough, because forget civics. Some people don't even know how a bill becomes law. I mean, remember
And
the
how much
Saturday morning?
power a president
Cartoons.
does or does not have.
Right. Remember the Saturday morning cartoons, how a bill becomes a law. We need to go back to basic. And if you're going to hold immigrants to a certain standard to know how this government works, check yourself, because you should know how your own government works first before you impose that requisition on someone coming to this country, escaping manipulation, marginalization, dictators,
Yeah.
Restrictive rights.
Strongman governments.
Right. They're coming here for a better life. And guess who built your home? And guess who washes your dishes, makes your food, all of this other stuff. So if you think that you can live without the immigrants, and listen, I'm not saying there isn't a problem. We can fix all of this, okay? And that's why I say I cannot give you one hot topic. Human rights is what I call all of it, because we're all human and we deserve the right to live and exist.
Right.
But like saying what you guys were saying earlier about religion and government should never mix. I come from a country where it's predominantly religion has always been a topic of why they create the laws and the regulation, as where women right now in the country that I'm from have no rights. They can't even speak in public because of, and that's why once again, when I was telling you like why I was, Charlie, I early voted too already. I did. And the reason why I mainly early vote now is because of this guy. He always just makes me go and be like, just go ahead and do it. And he's like, you're going to do it anyway. So just go ahead and get it out of the way. But I did it. One of the main reason is I'm a person, like I have to use my own, I'm able to have that right to go do it. Because if I lived, people always are like, go back to the country that you came from if you don't agree with these laws and regulations and stuff. Okay, I get that. That's great. Thank you for that. Trust me, I would go back to my country if my country was a place that I could go back to or whatever. And I'm going to be honest. But I also love this country. This is where I know that if we have democracy, we have empathy, we have our politicians that we can hold accountable. I'm able to go protest a policy that I don't agree and go on the streets and anything that we could do, whether it's Black Lives Matters, whether it's stop the genocide, ceasefire, anything. We live in a country where we're able to do that. And I will say this, and people are probably going to come at me for this. These people that are sitting down, I'm not voting, let's show it to the Democrats. That's all great. I get where you're coming from. I get those emotions. I had the same exact emotion. Where that whole, you can't say you're pro-Palestine and then go vote for a politician that is, I understand all of that. I completely get it. Trust me, I do. Because I know my people. I mean, Afghanistan was at war for years. And every presidential election, people were still at the poll voting. It was not an issue. Yes, times are different. Boots on the ground. We're able to have multiple news outlets. But I also tell people you are blessed enough to be in a country where you could even decide to sit out if you want. That's your decision. That's still part of your rights or whatever. But understand that when not only are you at risk, or we don't want to drop some, you don't want to drop bombs. I get all of that, but that's also something that cannot be done with this person that is trying to be president. It's not going to be done at all. You think that, oh, let's show it to them and just that's fine. That's great. You know, I get it, you know, but to know that you have those rights and but to know that if our democracy, our empathy, human rights are like what Charlie said, it's human rights. It's if you think it does not affect you, eventually it will. In one way or another, trust me, you are not going to not get away from it because it's going to start little by little. It's like being in a narcissistic relationship. They're going to slowly do little things here and there that you don't notice. Yep. It's stuff that is sweeping under the rug. It doesn't affect me, but if it does, in the long run, it will affect all of us. LGBTQ rights doesn't affect me, but I have two best friends that you can't tell me that their relationship and their marriage sanctity is not as important as a straight couple that I have seen with my own eyes where there's infidelity going. I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying all the time, but you can't say something like this is not sacred. And
simply because it doesn't conform to what
you
your
believe.
worldview.
Yeah.
Right.
So to me, it doesn't affect me, but I'm still, when I'm voting, I know who I'm going in there for. Like I said, I can't say I love them and in the same breath, and I would have sat this out. And that's another reason why. And I would have been like, you know what? I don't agree, blah, blah, blah. I'm very...
But, you know, that makes me think also of a part of a broader conversation. And mind you, this is the second time that we're doing this video because the first time it was plagued with all sorts of technical issues. Couldn't get it running. Then when we finally got it running, we went on an entire diatribe and we were talking to ourselves because the audio wasn't working. So this is take two. So we finally decided to just record it and you're getting a replay, but here it is. But anyway, just going off of what you're saying about the empathy and that this doesn't affect me and all of that, that is part of a broader conversation, in my opinion, also of how our cultures, and yes, in the United States it's been very predominant, this staunch individualism kind of thing of you get yours, I'll get mine, and that wasn't the origin of the culture of the United States, especially during the Industrial Revolution. Even though the United States was plagued with all sorts of other things that were going on at the same time, there was still heavy movements of segregation in most parts of the United States during the Industrial Revolution. Benefits of said Industrial Revolution did not hit all communities equally. Some communities were given affirmative action to own property, land, and places of residence in these suburbs, and others literally across the railroad tracks, right? Areas that were not so good and that were close to factories and contamination and all sorts of stuff and polluted sources of water. A lot going on. So this is part of a broader conversation as to why today it is possibly easier for people to distance themselves and say, this is not my problem. Because I believe that from the get-go, there has been this sensation by the powers that be, or this emotion pushed by the powers that be, that don't worry, we will take care of the favored class of society. Don't worry about these people, these other people. So if you're brought up in a society where this has been kind of like the overwhelming message, it is easy for people to come to that feeling of like, it's not my problem. And this is also why I wanted to have this conversation, because I wanted to marry things together. The purpose of this channel is being comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations, is because I feel that people don't talk about politics enough in the sense of how it affects your everyday life. Like the common things that you do when you go to the grocery store. And mind you, now that we're talking about that, it's not the president sitting there flipping a switch and making the prices go up and down, which I feel is an area of opportunity, so as not to say a big fumble of the Harris campaign, where she's speaking about she's going to go after corporate price gouging. But for people, the everyday person that is going to work and working two jobs and looking after their kids and going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning and waking up at 6, price gouging may not mean anything to them. No, because that's real life for some people. You know?
I mean, yeah.
They hear price gouging and they're like, well, what the heck is that? I feel that there's an opportunity there for politicians to break it down to everyday people like you and I watching this video and understand that it is corporations that own these grocery stores, these CEOs in their board meetings, deciding how much they're going to charge you, and the president, whoever it is, has very little to do with that. And this is where you come in, voting for someone that does have a plan to say, I am going to go after these CEOs and make sure that they don't charge exorbitant prices for everyday things. So this is how this comes together.
Well, that's why issues are not going to get solved. It's not going to get solved in this term. It's not going to get solved in the next term. It's not.
Everything, at least.
Yeah, like what
Right.
Charlie said. There's local elections. There's all sorts of things that help. It's a deep. I think people say everything is not as deep as it is. It is. It is. It absolutely is. There's so much layers. It's like an onion. There's so much layers. Okay, we fixed this issue. Let's go to the next one. It's like that theory when you're in an airplane. What do they say? They say put your mask on first before you
help someone
else out, because you yourself won't be able. So I'm not saying to be selfish. This is where people think, oh, now you're. No, it's just saying that stuff has to happen little by little, and it's sad to say we might not even see it.
Yeah.
As this generation, we might not see the effect, but these kids that are coming behind us, they deserve it.
Yeah.
They absolutely deserve it. They deserve to be in a society where they don't have to worry about their race, gender, where their parents came from,
and especially if we're pushing the pro-life thing so much that if we're thinking that we're so pro-life, pro-life for the unborn. Well, guess what? There are tons of generations that haven't been born yet. We need to think about what environment are we leaving to them.
Charlie said it.
Are they going to have clean air?
You're trying to get rid of for what? What is that even going to get? How does it affect you? Or where is it? Where is it? You would think we want. What do you say? Doesn't society flourish when people are more educated and they know what they're doing and they're investing in? You want people to invest in the economy back. That's how we're gonna get where we are. People shouldn't have to be working multiple jobs and barely surviving, like when he said. It's not the present. It's just that this is the life that we live in, because once again, these billionaires are just skyrocketing while just us everyday people are going to work, coming home, trying to just survive. But while we're surviving, I don't think we should be worried about your race, your gender. Like, these should not be factors that should be. You should be going, all right, I gotta go work. We all gotta eat. We all gotta survive. We all have to do it. But there shouldn't be stuff that, like I said, once again, our democracy, empathy, all of that is at stake, because we already deal with enough. So adding all of that to it, it's just like, all right, so now what are we doing? You see communities getting divided. Well, you know what? I'm only going to worry about my community, and that's another issue that is a big factor, I think.
But that's the whole definition of having a democracy. Yeah. Is that a democracy is inclusive, not exclusive.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not classist, it's not sexist, it's none of those things. A whole democracy, the purpose of it is to provide protection, security, foundation. It's supposed to take care of the people in times of need, during hurricanes, during times of disaster, during economic downturns, during personal crises, all of that. It's supposed to make sure that you have adequate housing, adequate health care, adequate child care, just basic human rights existence. These are basic needs. And no one should be struggling, not especially in this country.
Yeah.
Okay, but the opposite to that is going to be forms of government that are repressive, suppressive, manipulative, marginalizing. I mean, it's total control. There's no freedom, there's no liberty, there's no happiness. So if you notice, a lot of these countries, the people look miserable. I mean, it's incredible to me. But that's why I say, first and foremost, in this election, we need to focus on our democracy. Because without that, all of those lists of issues, all of those rights and everything that we're so concerned about, that we're all concerned about, because it affects all of us. If it affects one, it affects all. Okay? None of that matters if we don't have a democracy. So I don't care. Again, do your research. I'm not talking about Democratic and Republican. I'm talking about a democracy.
A representative democracy.
So, and these people are accountable to us. And guess what? We hold a responsibility to elect the proper people. And if we don't do our research, and if we just wait till election day and say, oh, this sounds like a good name, no. Listen, I don't always vote party. I vote for who I think represents what I'm looking for and in the best interest of this country, because this is my country of origin. Okay, despite the fact that I'm half Italian, half Puerto Rican, both my parents are U.S. citizens. Despite the fact people ask me if I have a green card, no, duh. So my biggest issues.
And why is that? Why do people feel the need to ask you if you have a green card?
Because they don't know any better, and that's willful stupidity. That's a whitewashed history. That is a dumbing down of education. Keep on going with banning of the books. I mean, keep on going with the obliteration of the Department of Education. I mean, you can keep on going. I mean, we can have shows and top of shows and top of shows, and we're trying to condense this and really focus on this election and making it count.
Yep.
So basically, for me, like I said, while y'all know how I feel about everything. Being a gay man, my existence, my rights, my marriage, 6 years, and we are not pedophiles. We're not trying to convert your children. None of this foolishness that you're hearing. Okay? No one has time for that. A heterosexual woman is not after every man she sees. A gay man is not after every man he sees. Trust me, some of y'all, your wife doesn't want you. So why would we? But that's a whole other conversation.
You put it to my closet.
We went from political to good housekeeping.
Y'all,
but
everybody who knows me knows my sarcasm.
but here's the thing. But this is
But in all
whole-
seriousness, he is correct.
Yeah.
Like, even people are saying, I've never understood when people are like, immigrants are here to take jobs, this and this, this. But yet in the same breath, I hear, but you guys are the ones that get free this. I work 2 jobs. I'm not trying to say, as a woman, as whatever you people say, I work 2 jobs at work, and I do everything.
I have my
for
9 to 5.
myself.
I have my 9 to 5. I do Amazon Flex. I do
But
DoorDash.
that's what I'm
Uber
trying to
Eats.
say. You can't say 2 things in the same breath. To me, I've never understood that.
And before you make a judgment, and before you make ignorant and stupid statements, because there's a difference, ignorance is a lack of knowledge, stupidity is willfulness.
Yeah.
Okay? This man right here, he's a resident of this country. He hasn't gotten his citizenship yet because guess what? A 3-year residence process took 6 years to process at a very costly price. So for those of you who want to come to me and talk about immigration, come on, because
becoming a citizen
you
is
better come to
expensive.
me,
Yes.
come to me and know
Prepared.
what the process is
Prepared.
and how costly
It is important.
Not
It's-
only preparing for it, but like what he said is costly. Like,
But-
I was lucky enough, my parents, they did become, and I was under the age, but even my parents that did not speak a lick of English, knew what you said, knew at that time sitting governments, presidents, electors, everything. They had to learn it, but yet in the same breath, there are people that probably would have told my father he didn't deserve to be in the country or whatever, or came here and we were using the system and all of that. And that's where it's just like, just get yourself educated once again before anything goes rhetoric. It goes back to what you said, women's right. And I'll say, I will address the elephant in the room. So let's just say if it is abortion, that's one of your main topics where you are pro. I always tell people, or what guys always tell, is because women dress a certain way, or they do this, or they do that, or they do this. There are situations where people are getting raped at the age of 4, 5, or 6, and then you have people that are 10 or 11 or 12. So you would want this child to bear if this person happened to be their uncle. I'm just saying there's multiple layers. If we're going to be what is it, raw about it, let's be raw about it.
Here's the thing, though. I feel that sometimes making a moral appeal to people is probably not the best use of our time either, because unfortunately, as in the case of Alabama, and as in the case of where was it that a girl had to flee? Was it Ohio? She had to go to Indiana to get the medical care that she needed, because and the woman that died in Georgia. Trying to make a moral appeal to some people is useless, because unfortunately, as shocking as it might be to us and some of the listeners, some people really, really, really deep down believe that it is okay for a 12-year-old child, to bear this life because God has a bigger master plan. And the reason why I say that is because I come from a country where every day I heard that. Okay? In Panama currently, and even in those situations, there are currently more reasonable abortion laws than what we have here now. Because there is no question if the mother has preeclampsia and she needs to get that child delivered, and we think about the child instantly as soon as they're out, and we try to do the best that we can for that child once that child is out, but we need to save the mother. That is not a question in a country like Panama, right? If a mother has fever that she cannot control, or something is going wrong and the body is just trying to expel that fetus, there is no question. Our laws are not so anachronic
Or
that
the doctors that are getting in trouble for
that they would question intervening to save a mother's life. But in the same breath, there are extremists in Panama that believe that it is a blessing. There was a legal question as to whether it was morally correct to allow a child to bring another child into this world, because their bodies aren't prepared for it, and it will prevent them from ever having to be able to have kids in the future. And not only that, just morally speaking, the impact, the trauma, I cannot even fathom what it is for a child that is supposed to be playing with toys to now have to raise an entire another human being. But this is where we are in the most powerful, richest country of the world. And this is why I said we need to have these conversations to marry policy with literal everyday life, because I feel that people don't connect the dots as to these decisions that we make in the ballot box. Not only every 4 years, but as Charlie says, like every 2 years for midterms and special elections. local elections.
Well, anything, or just being active and being like learning, or going and listening to a different point of view, or going and learning something. Maybe you didn't know all the, details. Luckily enough, we're blessed enough, and we are around each other. We're around other people where we see the world in a different, spectrum,
Light, right.
light. And there are a lot of people that don't have that opportunity, and I get that. When you're just like this, and that's all it is. But like I always say, it's okay to disagree, but to be cautious about it though, and be careful what you say, because there are certain things like what you said. Just because Charlie said it best. If you think it doesn't affect you, it does. It does. And I think you said it best. You're like, it's gonna eventually come to your door, and then what are you gonna do when?
Who are you gonna seek for help?
Yeah, because
all of these other groups that you batted an eye when they were going through trouble, they're not going to come rescue you because you didn't give two rats.
And as a society, regardless of like what I said, we are voting. We have to know when we come together, it's way more amazing versus when we are divided, because that's what they want. They want you to sit down, and whether, like I said, whether it's, whatever party you're affiliated with, that's fine. But if you sit back and you actually think about it, they love when we're divided, because this is how we are. But we are the day to day as a society. We're the ones that are around each other. We're the ones that are coexisting. We're co-workers. We're family. We're all that. And you have to know you can't check something on a ballot box and in the same breath say that you love me and you care about me, and but then go like, but that's not important. It's okay. That's not gonna happen. That's not how it works.
Oh my gosh.
It does.
I mean, the key to any bully situation, any oppressive situation, suppressive, the key to that is divide and conquer. And it gets to the point where, and some of you may be feeling this because I felt it, mental exhaustion. You're just so tired of hearing it. And the normalization of the hatred, of the discrimination, of the racism, thinking it's okay to demean and belittle people, juvenile name calling, calling people vermin, trash. Don't start me there.
They're poisoning the blood.
Poisoning the blood of this. All of that. The whole purpose of that is to get you to the point that you don't even know your own value. You don't even know your own rights and what you deserve, and to tune out. Yep. And guess what that means? When you tune out, you disassociate, and then you sit back on your couch. And when you sit back on your couch, believe it or not, they want that for the simple reasons because you gave your power and your rights away. You're telling them you agree with them dictating what you deserve. That's a no-no for me.
There's this, I don't know if she's a legit teacher or if she's just a comedian that does reels on Instagram, but she plays the role of a teacher, speaking to kids about very important policy issues, right? And she speaks, like the way that you would speak to a kindergarten. It's like, no, this is what we do, and this is what we do not do, the way you would speak to a child. And she had a video recently about the importance of showing up to vote. And basically the video was like, okay, let me explain it to you this way. I know that this is where you want to go, but if you sit in the bus stop, right, and you just sit there, you're not going to get there. And I know that this bus doesn't take you exactly to the door of the building that you want to go to, but it leaves you a block or two away. Got it? and she breaks it down that way. It's funny and all, and it's funny and sad, but the truth of the matter is that really we need to speak to people in a way where they understand, because some people are really angry, legit, for honest reasons. They're angry, they're exhausted, they're tired, and more than anything, they're angry and they're aggravated that they're voting, they're showing up, and they don't seem or feel to be getting closer to where they need to be. They show up, and now gas prices are high and the grocery store is out of control, and I don't know why. Well, I invite people to, we are living here. We need to understand why. We need to use our smartphones and say, okay, let me look up what is causing this inflation. Where did it come from? And there are many articles and sources of information that are not highfalutin and that doesn't use complicated language that pretty much anyone can understand. Who you need to point the blame at, because when you're angry, hungry, sad, all of these emotions make you vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, anybody can sweep in and take advantage of you because you're angry, sad, tired, and desperate. They take advantage. And what message usually they come in and say? They identify the problem correctly. They say you're hungry, you're sad, you're mad, you're frustrated, you're broke. Housing is out of control. You can't go to the doctor. Guess what all of them do?
I'll save you.
I'll save you. And but guess who is responsible? That little minority group over there that already has no power or very little. They're the ones. In every history book, it's been the same thing over and over again. They did the same thing in Panama.
They did it here over and over again in the last decade.
For the last...
There's always a boogeyman.
There's always a boogeyman.
If it's not Mexicans, it's the drag queens or the trans people. Now it was the Haitians with they're eating the kids, they're eating the dogs. I mean, then it goes back again. They start doing the cycle. Then, Puerto Ricans are trash again, but we're U.S. citizens and we vote. Know that. So there's always a boogeyman. There's always somebody that you're supposed to hate.
And to that
someone
point,
that's making your life more difficult.
Right. And what that does, unfortunately, it takes the attention off the real people that are making your life difficult. It wasn't more than
acting in your benefit.
2 years ago where there was what they call it, these where corporations do their earnings calls, is what they call them, their earnings calls. And they were reporting like how much profit they were making. Hand over fist. So we're talking about the Home Depots of the world, the Lowe's of the world, the Sam's Clubs and Costco's and this and that and whatnot. So they want to blame other companies, other people for, are you receiving a one-time or two-time little check, right? As what drove up all these prices. The government giving away money is what drove up all these prices. Find out. Receiving benefits. Oh, we need to cut Social Security. We need to cut food stamps. They're always trying to blame people that are already struggling, whether it is local people getting benefits that they've earned, or immigrants that are broke, do not speak the language,
who by the way don't get Social Security because they don't have a Social Security.
They don't have a Social Security number.
The only thing they're entitled to is SNAP. That's food stamps.
And through their children, because when they account for how much SNAP they're entitled to, it's for any kids that they have that are born here. But if they come by themselves or just a spouse or whatnot,
but that goes to the point where we shouldn't.
They're not entitled.
We shouldn't be. It shouldn't be attacking certain groups. Like these programs should already be instilled. We should be willing to flourish once again our economy to make sure there's programs. So when situations like the hurricane and all of this came through, there wasn't a pointing finger. Why all of this? Why is FEMA not doing this? And it's multiple. I'm saying it's just an example. It's just layers. These programs should already be instilled in our society. We should be willing to help, because once you help someone out, what are they going to do? They're going to flourish with that, and then they're going to pour back into an economy. We just have to know that once again, what they want is this divide.
Yeah.
They want us to be divided. They want us to only slowly worry about whatever issues we have going on and not care, because it's just, you have to know at the long run, once again, we're the ones that are going to be around each other. Mm-hmm. So if you're going in that, I don't know if people have voted or not, but if you're going into that voting, vote for whoever you want. I mean, it's not to be like, I already know the people that I'm around and where I associate myself with and how I associate with myself. I would never tell anyone which way to go, but just know, is it morally, ethically, just all of these combinations? Are you going in the same breath? Are you telling someone that you love them? I'd
actually like to even be more emphatic than that, because we're trying to really give people the opportunity to make up their own minds about stuff. But the truth of the matter is, they want us divided. Yeah. And I'm a big advocate for coming together and finding common inclusivity and coming together and finding common ground solutions and all of this.
Like I said, people wanting rights doesn't mean it's taken away from you.
I will say this before I say what I want to say. Most of us know what the right thing to do is. Most of us knows which one of these candidates represents bringing people together and working together, working across the aisle. Most of us know who represents bringing common sense solutions to the immigration issue. Most of us know who represents common sense solutions to bringing the cost of living down and creating a larger supply of affordable housing, because those are things that one of those candidates has spoken about a lot in her platform. So before I go out and directly say it, unfortunately, we are in a time when we also have to call a spade a spade. We're also in a time where, unfortunately, there is somebody that is amplifying those voices of division and is trying to make a comeback. And the reason why I say trying to make a comeback, even though that spirit has always lived here, the United States is really trying to get it right. People in the United States are trying to get it right. We can tell that by every popular vote. Who wins the popular vote? And I'm not talking about party. I'm talking about philosophies, ideas. when people feel inspired by a candidate that embodies ideas that represent most of the United States, most times that candidate wins the popular vote because they feel inspired by what the candidate is representing.
Well, one of the issues that comes to mind, even abortion right now, majority of the country is pro-right,
Choice.
pro-choice.
Yeah.
You know, but the politicians want you to believe that.
Yeah.
they
That's
don't-
not where we
Divided,
are.
yeah.
No, that's
Oh,
not
that
true.
it's split down the middle,
So,
50-50.
You know, 100% correct. You know, call a spade. But I don't want to. From my position, I don't want to stoop any lower because I'm so done with it all. Okay, I just want you to do your research and look at the true factual data, not alternative facts, because we're not living in an alternative world. This is a real world.
It's not Black Mirror.
Okay, and so yeah,
Yeah, for real.
we're not. You know, if you're over medicated, you might want to tone them back because the reality is you need to look at things realistically. Okay, and I'm just as exhausted as you are.
I think everyone is. I think everyone's just tired, and I mean, just like I think.
But I'm not willing to surrender.
No,
I'm not giving
no.
up my rights. I don't want
No.
you to give up your rights. I don't want your rights taken away from you. Things that don't necessarily impact me directly, they still matter to me because she's my friend. This is my husband. These two individuals have separate things that affect them that don't affect me.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it's not important to me. Okay. But when you try to continue creating these boogeymen and deflecting and projecting, you know, that's where the problem is.
Accountability.
Okay. And it's not realistic for you to think that you can continue demeaning these people and tell them you're their savior. You're going to make everything right. You've been there before. Why didn't you make it right then? Okay, you want to talk about she was the vice president. Is the Alzheimer's kicking in or dementia because you were president? So don't take
And
me down that
handled the
road.
House
Yeah.
and the Senate when you
Correct.
first got in.
So that's a great segue because remember what I said earlier, vote all the way down, vote in all your locals, make sure you stay involved. I don't care, even down to the school board because your children's education matter because they're banning books, they're dumbing things down, they're totally changing factual data because they're ashamed. You know what? You screwed up, that's fine. Admit the screw up and make it
And
better.
fix it. That's what
This
accountability.
country-
Yeah.
This country was founded on questionable circumstances, okay? Because our founding fathers were slave owners, okay? But they set a foundation. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't. But again, it's supposed to be a living document.
There was honor. There was honor to a degree because I'm sure that in the back of their minds they said like, okay, well, we're setting up things in a way where we could go to jail for the way that we're living right now because they literally created a foundation where
They were creating. Yeah. They were,
Yeah,
they were breaking the law that they were creating.
they knew, right?
Yeah.
But they probably, and history is sometimes colorful and complicated. It is possible, and giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? It is possible that they said like, okay, this is a necessary. They try to justify to themselves that this is a necessary evil that we need to do right now. But let's clean our consciences by creating at least a pathway forward. I don't know. I'm just just trying to imagine in my mind what they could have been thinking.
But also, I mean,
you know?
take into account they were escaping tyranny. That was the whole purpose of coming here and searching freedom and liberty and establishing a more perfect union. So you think the people escaping dictators and all that don't have the same issues?
Same concerns.
So it's the same situation hundreds of years later. So the truth of the matter is nothing is perfect. But if you don't start stepping forward and driving forward and you keep on looking in the rearview mirror, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, get on the bus, make a decision, and you know, we have to start somewhere. Is it all going to be perfect? No, it's not. But each one of us has to play our part. Okay, bottom line, empathy, it doesn't cost you anything. Okay, it's free. You know, no one should have the arrogance to think that they have some right of exclusivity. Okay, at the benefit and the obliteration of somebody that they consider less than. Okay, because none of us are less than anyone. In fact, some of us are a hell of a lot more educated, more successful, but they will never, ever, ever give us our due. The same way, you know, equality for women on the job. We're facing it right now, sexism. A lot of people, even minority men like us, there are some minority men like us who think she can't do the job. She's a woman.
Yeah.
If that's not the dumbest thing ever.
I actually had a conversation about this with someone at the bar. It was the gentleman, you know, he was wearing a Kamala Harris shirt, and I was just like, you know, it's amazing to see that, you know, because a lot of men just are not, you know,
Comfortable with the
comfortable with
proposition.
saying, and he said it, and he was just like, but he said it best. He was like, look how many guys gave it a try and what did they do? Nothing happened. He was like, and pretty much just kind of say like, why not? Like, not
Last count, every president was a guy.
No, but he was just, but he was saying that.
Yeah.
That's what he was trying to be like. He was being funny about it. He really was just being. He was like, I don't know what the big deal is because you always bring emotion. You bring this. These are accountabilities that go once again. It goes back to people that are like, want to sit it out. That's fine.
Well, Mr. 45 is very emotional. It's like he gets triggered so easily. Look like that debate that they got under his skin that for the last when the debate happen?
But
Was it like September?
I think we're going off topic with that, but it goes back to what Charlie said. It's just as a collective, if we don't come together, it's gonna create what they want. Bashing him, doing all that is not gonna do anything for us as a society.
No, because you see what he is.
Yeah, like
and if you don't,
Yeah, I mean,
put these on.
At this point, that's why I say at this point, it's
Yeah.
not really trying to make a moral appeal to people about like trying to justify my position versus your position. It is really reaching out to anyone who thinks that the couch is a good position, trying to let you know why it is not. Because number one, you're giving up your voice to someone that is going to make a decision with or without you. Decisions about the air that you breathe, the quality of your water,
Everything.
the access to housing that you have, the access to schools, affordability of medication, and all of these things. Those decisions are going to be
look
made.
what was on the ballot. Voting was on the
Voting.
ballot.
There was
on
an
this
amendment.
ballot.
Charlie,
In North Carolina.
please explain that amendment because
in
you
North,
did it the best.
in North Carolina, we have an initiative, and basically it's to rewrite the verbiage in our state constitution that defines who's eligible to vote, and they want to change the wording to only U.S. citizens
US
over
born.
it's
That's
U.S.
it.
citizens over the age of 18. Now, there's no reason to redefine that because number one is federal law. What they're taking out is they're taking out the verbiage for and naturalized citizens. So why would you need to take out the words and naturalized citizens if you don't have a hidden agenda somewhere down the line to restrict to only U.S. born individuals?
Right.
Now, if you read it, you would think you want to.
Why would I not want to
Sure.
pro this? Yeah,
But if you understand, I mean, logically, when I first read it, I just said, "But
Why do you
why is
feel
this on here?"
Right.
Yeah.
That was
You
his
know.
first like.
And then I reread it and I said, "Oh, they're taking out naturalized citizens out of the description." Well, yeah, I was born yesterday, but in the past, but it wasn't yesterday. It was way in the past. So I don't take kindly to that, okay? Because you're setting the stage. And this is what happens. Systematically, over long periods of time, our situation today did not just appear.
Right.
This has been stewing, and the seeds were planted over the last
several decades.
several decades, okay? And it leads up to this point. And that's like he did the analogy of cooking a frog. You keep turning the heat up little by little, okay?
So they don't notice.
So they don't notice it. Well, if you keep normalizing this type of rhetoric, we become desensitized. It becomes normal to us. Then we're like, oh, that's just the way he talks. Okay, I talk this way too. Okay, but now people see things differently in a different light. But you better believe it. Like Maya Angelou said, when they show you who they are,
Believe them.
You better believe them.
Believe him.
Because this is how we are here today. Okay, I don't care. Love all the passion about all the initiatives, all the rights, all the hot topics, but first and foremost, democracy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have it, you have
That is the
democracy.
foundation on top of over which everything else is built. Like, and I wish it were easier for people to come to that conclusion that you don't have to agree with every single thing a politician stands for. For instance, when I was driving her over here, we had a very specific conversation about how she feels about no government is currently representing Palestinian
Arabic
people
community,
or
Muslim
Arabic
community in
communities
general.
and Muslim communities. They're
Yeah.
not looking after them except from when they come and knock on their doors asking for their votes.
Yeah.
And
But this has been a rhetoric for us for
30, 40
plus
years, whatever.
Yeah,
But
Islamophobia.
but-
that was one of the list of boogeymen.
Yeah.
Right.
So every time
So-
you're on that
But-
list of boogeymen,
Yeah.
they're not coming. They're not
Yeah.
talking about you.
But the central part of the conversation was that she expressed that I disagree with that, but I can't,
Wholeheartedly.
right? But and I can't be so narrow-minded to just vote on that one single issue, because when the opposition is proposing total and absolute control of the government and a crackdown on protesters and making phone calls and consulting with his people to see if he can send the National Guard to beat up protesters or to shoot them in the leg. If that is your opposition, then your issues with any political issue or civil or social issue goes down the drain, because you cannot protest or fight any other issue because you're changing your democracy into dictatorship. So, Betul basically told me, it's like, I want to live to fight another day to basically be able to protest these things, because, legitimately, it is heartbreaking what is happening over there. It is inhumane. And she also mentioned that it is not like the U.S. government is powerless before the situation. We have the power. Reagan did it. Reagan picked up the phone and spoke to whoever the prime minister was back then over the phone and says, we're going to stop providing you with weaponry and funds if you continue this behavior. And it ended before the day was over.
We are able to, people are like, and most people have the benefit of fleeing if things go whichever side they're saying. That's fine. Me, myself, personally, talking about me as an individual, I don't have that opportunity, and I don't want to have that opportunity. I don't want that to even be, I know we have to be realistic, but I don't even want to be like, that's what it is. I come from a country that women do not have no rights whatsoever, and I will admit that. Am I proud to be Afghan? Absolutely. Will I scream it from... Yes, I am proud. My parents did the best decision when they brought us here to give us that opportunity. But I also want to be able to, like I said, politicians they're not celebrities. They do not need to be put on pedestals. They want that goes whatever. I don't care whether
servants.
That is Democrats, that's liberals, that's Party of Green, whoever you go for. We are their bosses. This is an interview. Like any job that any of us have, there is a review. So if that is not the case, we're not going to be able to do that. So if I would have been like, you know what, I'm sitting out and I don't want to do this, I get it. That's your right. You could do that. But just remember what that result can be. And that result is scary, what it could be or whatever.
And the result will affect you just the same as if you went in there and voted for it, or if you decided to stay on the couch. It's like, it's going to affect you.
You might not think it doesn't. You might think you're proving a point. You might think you're doing something. I get it.
Michelle Obama said it best yesterday. She said,
but I get it. I'm speaking as an Arab. I'm speaking as a Middle Eastern. I'm speaking as where my country was put in the same position, and we still don't feel heard. We still don't feel that our voices matter. Trust me, I get it. It is a battle. It is an ethical battle. It is empathy. It is a democracy battle. It absolutely is. But we got to know we have more hope and more changes if we go one way versus if we go another way. Because there is nothing for none of us. Mm-hmm. Forget Black Lives Matter, forget LGBTQ, forget women's rights, forget the elderly, forget education, forget universal, forget world, everything, forget civil war around the world.
People with disabilities.
Everything will be, and people might not believe that it will be
veteran
wiped
assistance
out little by little. I told you,
they put it in a book. It's called Project 2025.
It's just
literally there's so many chapters that go through everything that we just listed. It's crazy.
But it's just things that people don't think it will affect you. Just do it. I was in the same position, trust me. It was. Even when I was in that voting booth, I swear I just sat there and I think I had a moment myself and I just had to be like, all right. Because the only way that anything's going to get done is going to be this way. To be honest, it is. At least there's a ray of hope. Even if that little light is at the end of the tunnel, it's there. Because the other way of looking at it just looks pitch black. Like what's going on right now outside is nothing.
The bottom line is ask yourself a question. Are you okay giving your power away? Are you okay letting somebody tell you your worth? Are you okay letting somebody dictate to you what you can and cannot do, who you can and cannot love, how you can and cannot live, what you're supposed to aspire to or not aspire to? Are you okay with somebody devaluing you? Because that's what's happening. It's a devaluation of society. It's a devaluation of people. It's an obliteration of races. It's a genocide happening. Is this the kind of world you want? So you need to ask yourself that question, because there's only one path, okay? One path, okay? Bottom line, remember, he was president with a cooperative Congress and didn't accomplish anything, okay? He was voted out, so he failed his interview. He failed his final grade.
He failed his review.
Not by little, bigly he failed, okay? And now, historic turnout. Now we have another historic turnout in early voting. So, my background is quantitative analysis because my degree was operations management, statistics, and all of that. So I'm a numbers person. Numbers don't add up to me. And, there's one way that goes his way, and it isn't the right way. So, again, ask yourself, are you okay selling yourself short? Are you okay putting yourself in the clearance section?
And to be clear, at least this is my perspective. Some may not agree with me, but we're having this conversation for people that, for whatever reason, think that their voice either does not matter, does not have an impact, or feel like they're tired and they just don't want to participate because they're just exhausted and they feel that they can't make a difference. We're here to tell you that if a million people feel that way, those 1 million people together will make a difference. Okay? Because
we all feel it.
because elections are won by a few thousand votes in certain districts can flip a state. Literally.
We've seen it.
We've seen it happen.
No, yesterday I saw something, and they said that when they broke it down, I can't remember what state it was, but when they broke it down,
It was
the
like-
polling district, it was a handful of votes in a district. I think it was something
It was
like
like
eight or nine
people.
8 or 9 votes that
made a difference.
in that district.
Mhm.
This is how serious this is. So if you think that your one vote doesn't matter,
Yeah.
the hell it does.
It absolutely does, and this is why the name of the video is what it is. Your vote counts, right?
And don't allow them to take it away, regardless if it's local elections, if it's what it is right now, because at the end of the day, our democracy is always at stake. At any given moment, the switch could just literally flip, and the whole dynamic could change. So it does matter. I don't care what nobody says. It does matter, because I've been that person where I thought it didn't, but it does. It absolutely does.
And I just wanted to kind of close with a statement that I had in the other video kind of prepared, but it didn't quite work out, where Elizabeth Willing Powell posed the question, well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy? And Benjamin Franklin responded with the famous quote, a republic if you can keep it. So going right after Batul's words here, yes, if we can keep it, things can change really quickly. And just wrapping up, also wanted to say, don't let people make you think that all of this type of rhetoric is only rhetoric. They really mean what they say. And don't let them make you think that this only applies to these other groups that they're going after. Because I promise you, one day it will come back to haunt you. Because hate knows no bounds, and oppressive regimes, they don't look at skin color necessarily or gender or whatnot. They oppress everyone equally, okay? And they just use minority groups as the excuse to introduce that type, as the scapegoats to introduce that type of behavior, and then they come after everybody else once they're installed. So, we don't want to close on a downer note.
No.
So,
No.
any closing remarks?
Yeah, my closing remarks are do something. In the famous words of Michelle Obama, do something. Okay, I did my part. Not only did I exercise my right to vote, I offered my services here in North Carolina to drive someone to the polls if they didn't have a way to get there, to go with them if they felt intimidated, because trust me, the location I went to was extremely intimidating. Of course, I don't look like I would be against them, but I promise you, what I walked in on was not what I expected. It was not diverse in any sense. And I had to go through an entire area that was inundated with Trump support. And I can understand how people would feel intimidated, but I want you not to feel intimidated. And I don't care, even Tuesday's the 5th. If you need someone to go with you, I'll go. Okay, I'm there. No one's taking me up on the offer, that's fine. Batul went with a friend of hers.
I did. See, my experience was different.
People,
I was in and out. I went
county,
out.
by the way.
I am. And when I went out, it was an amazing experience. You could just feel these people that are working these polls. I think we don't talk about them because they are amazing people that are doing it, because it was the most. I had an old lady held my hand and walked me through it. It was like, go on, baby. She was like, I'm so proud that you came. And she said, I'm glad that young people are turning out more and more. And it is, like I said, don't even go give there has been fights for this. There have been people that exercise your right, because do not allow anybody to tell you anything different.
And trust and believe. History is on your side, and that side is the right side.
And honestly, most of us as people work together.
Yep.
We are. That's what they don't like right now.
Most people agree, and that's what they're afraid of. They wouldn't be so focused on reducing the number of people that vote if they felt that most people agreed with them. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
If they felt that they had the power, that it was in the bag, they wouldn't be trying so hard to keep you on the couch and to silence you.
Yeah.
So on that note, thank you for joining. Thank you for putting up with our technological shenanigans.
I promise you, we'll get it together.
We'll get it right one of these days.
But I'm going to invite you, even though it's his channel, I'm going to invite you to contact him if there's something you want to
Talk about. Yeah, chat about.
If you want,
Or comment it in the comments.
If you want to be here on this side of the camera,
we welcome you.
and you're in
welcome
North
into
Carolina,
our home.
yep. If you're in North Carolina, in the Concord, Kannapolis, Charlotte area, Locust now, Midland,
Wherever you
we're an
are.
wherever you are, if
we're
you're
an
passing
amazing crew
through.
to hang out with.
yeah,
Just like,
if you're passing through, or say like it so happens that you're gonna be here in a weekend, and you say, hey, this is an interesting channel, I want to participate. Hit me up, let me know, and you're more than welcome. Mi casa es tu casa.
Pero se respeta a todos.
bye guys,
Respect
go
to
vote.
everyone.
Please go vote.
Go vote.
Please go vote. Please. Bye.